Ice understood the timeline. According to her, the marriage had effectively ended long before her relationship with Crowe began. Years later, she described the marriage as emotionally overwhelmed before legal papers were filed. She explained that the press only became interested after everything had already collapsed privately. This distinction rarely appeared in newspaper headlines. Instead, magazines focused almost entirely on the affair. The narrative became impossible to escape. Ryan's reputation suffered enormous damage almost overnight. Friends described Ryan and Crowe as deeply attracted to one another. During filming, they reportedly spent significant time together, frequently talking for hours, exchanging messages, and traveling whenever possible. Crowe reportedly showered Ryan with thoughtful gifts, including an antique Buick and even a puppy. Some people close to Ryan believed his intensity became overwhelming. Having just emerged from an emotionally exhausting marriage, Ryan wasn't looking to rush into another lifelong commitment. Distance also became a major obstacle. Crowe remained deeply connected to Australia, while Ryan's life centered in Los Angeles and her responsibilities as a mother. The relationship gradually lost momentum. By the end of 2000, it was over. Unlike the scandal that surrounded its beginning, the breakup happened quietly. There are no explosive interviews or bitter accusations. Both simply moved forward with their lives. Although the romance lasted less than a year, its effect on Ryan's public image lasted much longer. Hollywood audiences have spent years viewing her as the perfect romantic heroine. Suddenly, she became the focus of endless gossip. Studios became cautious. Film offers slowed. Public perception shifted dramatically. Whether fair or not, Ryan's carefully built image had changed. Rather than continue making familiar romantic comedies, Ryan deliberately pursued riskier material. She starred in Jane Campion's erotic psychological drama, In the Cut. The film shocked audiences accustomed to seeing her play wholesome romantic leads. Many critics admired her willingness to take creative risks, but audiences struggled to accept such a dramatic change. Commercially, the film disappointed. Her next movie, Against the Ropes, also failed at the box office. For the first time in over a decade, Ryan was no longer considered one of Hollywood's safest stars. Another controversy soon followed. While promoting In the Cut in Britain, Ryan appeared on Michael Parkinson's famous television interview program. The conversation quickly became uncomfortable. Parkinson repeatedly questioned her personal decisions and suggested that her recent film choices reflected turmoil in her private life. Ryan appeared increasingly frustrated, eventually offering short answers and asking for the interview to end. The media immediately criticized her behavior. For years, she was portrayed as rude and difficult. Nearly 2 decades later, Parkinson himself revisited the interview. He admitted he could have handled the conversation far better and acknowledged that he came across as unnecessarily confrontational. Although he didn't place all the blame on himself, his comments significantly changed public perception of what had happened. After years of nonstop work and constant media attention, Ryan decided to step away from acting. Rather than chase more leading roles, she focused on raising her children, exploring new interests, and simply living outside Hollywood. She later explained that she wanted time to rediscover herself as a person instead of existing only as a celebrity. The break lasted nearly a decade. During that period, she also adopted a daughter from China, expanding her family while staying largely out of the public eye. As Ryan made occasional public appearances, discussion increasingly shifted toward her changing appearance. Speculation surrounding cosmetic procedures dominated entertainment headlines. Ryan rarely addressed the rumors directly. Instead, she consistently emphasized that she no longer wanted to live according to public expectations. She later remarked that growing older had taught her the importance of saying exactly what she believed instead of worrying about other people's opinions. In 2023, Ryan returned to filmmaking with What Happens Later. Rather than simply starring in a romantic comedy, she also co-wrote and directed it. The project wasn't designed to recreate the enormous box office success of her earlier career. Instead, it represented creative independence. For Ryan, making films on her own terms mattered more than chasing blockbuster numbers. Looking back, the relationship that dominated tabloids lasted less than a year. Its cultural impact, however, stretched across decades. Ryan has repeatedly maintained that Crowe did not destroy her marriage because the marriage had already fallen apart. Crowe has also spoken respectfully about Ryan in interviews, describing her as courageous and expressing gratitude that they remained friends despite their breakup. Their romance ultimately ended because they wanted different futures, lived on opposite sides of the world, and met each other during emotionally complicated periods of their lives. The scandal surrounding them became much larger than the relationship itself. In many ways, it reflected Hollywood's tendency to reduce complicated human experiences into simple headlines. Today, Meg Ryan's legacy extends far beyond one controversial chapter. She remains one of the defining actresses of the 1990s and one of the greatest romantic comedy stars in cinema history. Films like When Harry Met Sally, Sleepless in Seattle, and You've Got Mail continue introducing new generations to her work. The controversy involving Russell Crowe. For much of the 1990s, Meg Ryan seemed unstoppable. She wasn't just another Hollywood actress. She was the undisputed queen of romantic comedies. Her warm smile, effortless charm, and relatable performances made audiences believe in love again and again. Whether she was sharing unforgettable moments in When Harry Met Sally, exchanging emails in You Got Mail, or falling in love atop the Empire State Building in Sleepless in Seattle, Ryan became America's sweetheart. At the peak of her success, studios trusted her name to carry films to massive box office success. She earned millions of dollars per movie, broke salary records for female actresses, and enjoyed a reputation that seemed impossible to damage. Then, almost overnight, everything changed. A failing marriage, an unexpected romance with Russell Crowe, relentless tabloid headlines, and public backlash transformed one of Hollywood's most beloved stars into one of its most misunderstood figures. For years, many believed they knew exactly what happened. But the full story is far more complicated than the headlines ever suggested. Born Margaret Mary Emily Hyra on November 19, 1961, in Fairfield, Connecticut, Meg Ryan never planned on becoming one of Hollywood's biggest stars. Raised by two teachers, she initially attended the University of Connecticut before transferring to New York University to study journalism. Before graduating, however, she made a life-changing decision. She left school to pursue acting full-time. Like many aspiring performers, Ryan began with television commercials before landing a recurring role on the soap opera As the World Turns. Those early years gave her valuable experience, but she dreamed of something much bigger. Her breakthrough arrived in 1986 when she appeared as Carol Bradshaw, the wife of Goose in the blockbuster Top Gun. Although her screen time was limited, audiences noticed her natural charisma. 3 years later, everything changed. In 1989, When Harry Met Sally introduced Meg Ryan to the world as Sally Albright, opposite Billy Crystal. The romantic comedy instantly became a cultural phenomenon. Ryan's performance perfectly balanced humor, intelligence, vulnerability, and charm. The famous restaurant scene became one of the most iconic moments in movie history, while her chemistry with Crystal earned widespread praise. The film also earned Ryan her first Golden Globe nomination. Hollywood suddenly had a brand new leading lady. Throughout the 1990s, she carefully built an extraordinary career. Sleepless in Seattle paired her with Tom Hanks for the first time. French Kiss showcased her comic timing. You Got Mail reunited her with Hanks in another beloved romantic classic. Together, those films generated hundreds of millions of dollars worldwide and cemented Ryan's status as the face of the romantic comedy genre. Studios were willing to pay almost anything to secure her for their projects. By 2000, she reportedly commanded around $15 million per film, placing her among the highest-paid actresses in Hollywood. Despite her success, Ryan wanted audiences to see another side of her talent. She pursued dramatic roles, including When a Man Loves a Woman, where she portrayed a woman battling alcoholism. The emotionally demanding performance earned critical praise and proved she was capable of much more than romantic comedies. She also starred in City of Angels opposite Nicolas Cage, another major commercial success. Everything suggested her career would continue climbing. Behind the scenes, however, her personal life was becoming increasingly complicated. Long before Russell Crowe entered the picture, there was Dennis Quaid. The two actors met during the late 1980s and quickly became one of Hollywood's favorite couples. Their romance moved fast. After Quaid admitted his struggle with substance abuse, he entered rehabilitation before their planned wedding. Ryan supported him throughout his recovery, and the couple married on Valentine's Day in 1991. The following year, they welcomed their son, Jack Quaid, who would eventually become a successful actor himself. From the outside, they looked like the perfect Hollywood family. Inside the marriage, things were far less stable. Years later, Quaid openly discussed his addiction struggles and admitted they had taken a heavy emotional toll on their relationship. Another issue quietly developed as Ryan's fame exploded. While Quaid continued working steadily, Ryan became one of the biggest stars in America. Crowds recognized her everywhere they went. Quaid later admitted that walking beside his wife sometimes made him feel invisible. Looking back years afterward, he acknowledged those feelings were rooted in his own insecurities, but at the time they deeply affected him. As Ryan's career soared, the emotional distance between the couple continued growing. By 2000, the marriage was already nearing its end. While filming the action thriller Proof of Life, Ryan met Australian actor Russell Crowe. Fresh off major successes, including The Insider and Gladiator, Crowe had built a reputation as an incredibly talented but intensely passionate performer. Their characters shared romantic chemistry on screen. Soon, rumors suggested that chemistry had continued after the cameras stopped rolling. Photographs eventually surfaced showing Ryan and Crowe together away from filming, fueling enormous media speculation. Because Ryan's divorce had not yet been finalized, tabloids immediately concluded that Crowe had destroyed her marriage. The story spread rapidly. America's sweetheart had supposedly become Hollywood's newest villain. Ryan consistently argued that the public M